I guess, yeah, now we are. Okay. All right. Hello, hello, and good evening. It's another episode of Major Key, but tonight it's Troy Graham, and we're here today with the president of Ring 10, which is a boxing charity. That's Matt. Say your say your last name for me, Matt, so I don't mess it up, please.
It's not difficult.
Right.
Farrago.
All right. So we have the president of Ring 10, which is Matt Farrago, and
Yeah, there you
and
go.
Rich the Cutman Swartz. You're the vice president, correct, Rich?
Right.
All right. And both of you gentlemen have been doing Ring 10 for how many years now? And give a quick bio of Ring 10, and you could get into how it helps boxers, and uh, you know maybe a couple of boxers that you can name that it helped, and you know how you could donate to Ring 10.
Rich, you want me to take it? And then if I fill in
Yeah,
the blank,
yeah,
Yeah,
man. You go
yeah.
first, and then Rich will come in.
Right.
I was with another organization in New York, and they went
Hmm.
sour. I was with them for 20 years, and then they went sour. So I broke away, and I said, "Listen, I'm going to do it my way, the way it should be done." I knew that there were a lot of fighters out there that needed help because boxing is one of the few sports that once you don't produce anymore, you're of no use, and they pretty much get rid of you. So I formed Ring 10. It's been 10 years is our anniversary, and we help them anywhere we can. I get calls all the time from fighters. I had one yesterday from the wife of a fighter that needed a lot of help. And so we're taking steps to make things right for her and for the fighter. And this is our 10th year anniversary. It was canceled because of the virus, but we're hoping that we get off on November 6th. November 6th this year. Um, should be at Terrace on the Park.
Okay. And Rich, you want to step in here now? And
Yes, Matt contacted me, and I jumped on board. I think we got organized in 2011,
Yeah.
and we got Harold Letterman was on board, the great Harold Letterman, dear friend of ours, and boxing writers. We had Ron Ross, who wrote the book Al Boomy Davis and Murder Inc. We had writers, we had referees, we had cutmen, we had judges, and basically fans, boxing fans who wanted to join because they wanted to help fighters. And we got started in 2011. We started meeting in a restaurant in the Bronx, and we met every the second Tuesday of every month, and we just kept getting bigger and larger. And we every year, originally our first fundraiser gala that we had was at Russo's on the Bay in Howard Beach at Catering Hall, and then from there we began to have our yearly fundraiser at a beautiful catering hall overlooking the river in the Bronx, the Marina del Rey, and we kept getting bigger and bigger and larger as far as membership went. Back in 2019, actually 2018, we had Roberto Duran was our guest, and we flew him up from Panama with his wife, and we had a tremendous turnout. If I remember correctly, Matt, we had about 536 guests that attended that event.
Yep. Yep. Um,
okay, now Matt, can you speak on how the charity has help fighters, and then we could move into how we could get others to help.
sure. I just want to make a point that people don't understand, they don't know, and they see the big names on TV, the big fighters, and the guy's got a big purse and he's doing well. What they don't see is the undercard, before the fight, and they don't see the thousands of fighters out there fighting for nickels and dimes, making no money, getting whooped, and suffering from CTE, the same as the football players, except nobody really cares for them. So I decided to form Ring 10 to actually cater to the guys that need the help the most, which are the undercard fighters and champions that didn't last long in the ring. Um, I'm sorry, what was the question again? I went off the track because I wanted to say that.
No, I was just telling you to speak on how you've helped fighters, and then
Uh,
we're gonna move into how we could get people to help out, Ring 10.
We do anything and everything. I had a guy that needed a knee replacement, so he had no insurance, and I found him. I got him the care for it. I had it done. We had it done on Long Island at a hospital. I had a friend surgeon of mine that did it. We went through the Medicare, whatever it was, and he had new knees put in. We've what have we done? We've paid housing or rent, food cards. I send out food cards. I usually ask a fighter where he eats and just say it's Stop and Shop. I'll go there and buy a certain amount of food cards and send them out by the mail. They can't trade them in for money, but they can only buy food. So they could, theoretically, they could do something bad with it, but at least I know in my heart I'm trying hardest I can to get them food for the month. And that's the kind of stuff we do.
Okay, and Rich, how can people get in touch with Ring 10 if they wanted to donate or help out?
They could go on our link. I think, Matt, it's www.ring10.org. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes. And if you just search Ring 10, if you just arbitrarily just put it in Ring 10, it'll come up maybe one or two or third slot. Sometimes you get like a Ring 10, like a ring with a 10 carat, like a website will come up like that. But it's right on top always.
Now, I know you've spoken how many years you've been doing this and so forth, but can you tell us like the worst case I guess you've ever? That's not even the best choice of words. Tell us about the worst case scenario with these boxers. There are champions, they're top contenders, and then after they all washed up, how do they get in touch with you when they have nothing left?
Matt.
Yeah, who would be the worst?
I want to tell Troy about probably our best case.
Well, maybe we shouldn't say his name.
No.
Right? We can right. We're not talk about like he's a Philadelphia fighter, New York fighter, and welterweight. That kind of we don't want to. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
I got a call from a young man. I did not know the fella, but he told me that a boxing trainer who he had contacted mentioned Ring 10 and gave him my phone number, and he reached out to me. And he was a fighter from Guyana in South America.
I remember.
He had quite a number of pro fights, and he had a fight in Mexico where he was severely injured. He had bleeding on the brain, and he had surgery performed in his country, and they had to remove a piece of his skull. And the piece of the skull was never replaced. They just put a flap of skin over the opening of the skull that was removed in order to release the pressure on his brain. And he decided to come to the United States to raise money. He needed $25,000 for the surgery. He told me that he couldn't get any help from his country after the original surgery. And he contacted me, and I said to him, gee whiz, we're having our Ring 10 meeting tomorrow evening at the Bronx at Reno's Restaurant on East Tremont Avenue. I said, why don't you come down with your wife and I'll introduce you. And he showed up the following evening with his wife and another female friend. And I introduced him, and he got up and he introduced himself to the members that showed up. And he told them what had happened to him. And this is an unbelievable story. I mean, if you made this story up, if a Hollywood story, people wouldn't believe it.
Troy, you have to understand, he's got a hole in his head underneath his skin. He's got no skull, so if he ever got hit there by accident or something fell on it, he could be severely injured. He's literally, you could see the head swelling up and down. It was that bad. And they discarded that chunk of bone.
Right.
Okay, and let me tell you the rest of the story.
Okay, Rich, just real quick. There was someone that just beamed in. Oh. I'm not sure if that's
Ernie. It's probably Ernie Brown.
Okay. How you doing, Mr. Brown? Once Rich is finished telling the story, then I'll let you speak on yourself. Okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Now, at the end of the meeting,
Okay, sounds good.
at the end of the meeting, Troy, we walk out to the parking lot, and Matt goes to his car and he pops up the trunk, and he takes out a box from the trunk of his car. He opens up the box and he shows what was in the box to this fighter, and he says, "This is the mesh that the surgeon would use to close up that opening in your skull." Okay, Matt, I'm going to turn it over to you. Matt arranged the surgery for this young fighter, and it didn't cost him a cent out of his pocket. He returned back to Guyana, and he stays in touch with us. He thanks Matt and Ring 10 for coming to his aid and having the surgery done pro bono. That's what Ring 10 did.
Wow.
We do anything and everything. They secured his missing hole, and he was forever good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you both. That was a powerful story. Mr. Brown, why don't you introduce yourself and give a quick bio, and then speak on Ring 10 and how it's helped you and all the good you've seen at from Ring 10. Did you hear me, sir?
Sure. My name is Ernie Brown. I've been involved in the sport of boxing for 42 plus years. Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay, good.
I can hear you. Go ahead.
My name is Ernie Brown. I've been involved in the sport for about 42 years. I'm doing great, thank you. Like I said, I've been involved in boxing for 42 years and counting. I've been in all kinds of varieties, as an amateur boxer to a manager. So I've done it all in the sport. I'm in the Illinois Boxing Hall of Fame, up to the net. And what I can say about Ring 10 is the great organization. I've been involved there. I've been a member of them for a few years now, but 99.9% of the money they raise go to help fighters in need. So, and I encourage anybody and everybody to give to such a fine organization as Ring 10.
Okay, thank you, sir. And when did you first find out about Ring 10 and reach out to Matt or Rich?
Well, Rich reached out to me and told me about the organization, and I became a big fan. I went to a couple of their functions. I've sent my donations in, and I will support it. It's one of my main organizations that I support.
Okay, and you know what? You might have to move a little bit because there's a little signal issue with your phone and all that. Can you move to another room or something like that?
Okay.
Okay. And then
sure, I can most certainly can.
Okay, there you go. Well, actually, you sound good, right? Okay, yeah, because see what happens is you keep breaking up. Like you'll start talking. After that, you'll go silent for a little bit while you're talking.
Right. It's better? It's better now?
No,
Yeah,
the signal's still
good. No?
Well, because the signal's still a little weak. Yeah, it's still a little weak right now. But but Matt, why don't you tell how you met
okay.
Why don't you tell how you met Ernie and how and all the good that Ring 10 has done for Mr. Brown here?
I personally don't have a long relationship with Ernie.
Okay.
But that's okay. I mean, we're all family, and anybody connected to boxing, especially if they're helping fighters, there's a problem out there because anybody can open up a scam organization, and there are plenty of them out there. There's a couple in New York alone that are total scams. You could just pretend to be. You could say, put a flag up and say, "Hey, listen, I'm helping so and so. I'm helping all these guys." Nobody proves, nobody asks, and people just do. People just do what they want to do. They think they're giving to a legitimate charity when they're not. Okay, so Ring 10, just so you know, Ring 10 is 100% legitimate. and a legal 501c3. The big problem is that football is a union, baseball is a union, tennis is a union, golf is a union, basketball is a union, boxing is it's not a union.
No, sir.
What? Wait a minute. I've been watching boxing since I was a kid. What do you mean it's not a union? It's not. It's not. How could that be? That's my primary goal, is to change that and to unionize the sport of boxing.
Okay, now,
once and for all.
Okay, now, Matt, how do you go about doing that, Matt? That'll be my next question. How would you go about, forming a union in boxing?
I've been doing a lot of studying and trying to see how the Teamsters did it. Listen, there's going to be pushback. We understand that. The promoters don't want it. People who are making money off the fighters don't want a union, right? Same way with the employees the employers don't want their employees forming a union and telling them what to do, right? But that's the whole point of a union. In numbers, we have strength, right? That's the whole point of a union. So I will, at some point, make the move to get a couple big name fighters to stand with me and petition the government to form a union. And I will oversee it, hopefully, and see it materialize into a union, into one boxing union, one national or one international union across the world that competes for the same title. That would eliminate many of the garbage titles that are out there.
Right. Now, Matt, the last question before I pass it on to Rich over here.
Yep.
How can we help you get the union? How could the fans help out with that?
They can join Ring 10. Now, joining Ring 10 is $25 a year or $100 for your lifetime membership. Okay, that's one thing. So you get all the updates anything I do, you'll get an update. You'll get an email from Ring 10, and it'll say whatever it's going to say. We're going to make the announcement for our new event coming up in November because we canceled it in September. So you'll get the updates. You'll see the champions that are coming. I'm already in progress trying to get the champions, solidify all the champions that have come to our 10th year anniversary. So the best thing you could do is go to ring10.org and join as a member, whether it's a 1 year or a lifetime membership, and be a part of the organization. And if I could pass any kind of benefit to you or a discount to you, we'll see if we could do that to our members. So, but that's the most important thing to do, is to follow ring10.org.
All right, go ahead. Now, Rich, Mr. Brown, I'm gonna ask you to mute your mic for us, okay?
Where's the link at?
Okay, Rich, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I guess with your time with the organization, how is it going right now? And the same question, how would you get the fans to actually help? Besides donating and all that, is there any volunteer hours they could do or anything? How else can you get the fans to actually help out? Can we talk to the fighters? Can we call the sanctioning bodies? What can we do?
Well, I really think that what we have to do is get the promoters on board. We got to reach out. We got to get Bob Barrow on board. We got to get Oscar De La Hoya on board. Don King, Eddie Hearn from England. If we get these promoters on board, and they all realize that in the long run, everybody's going to benefit from a union. The fighters are going to benefit from the union. The promoters are going to benefit. We're going to have real undisputed world championship fights, and it's going to be good for everybody all around. It's like what happened at the turn of the century. At the turn of the century, you had the robber barons. You had guys that were working. They had no due process. They had no rights. If you didn't show up for work on Sunday, don't come back Monday. We're in now 2021, and I think it's doable. We've been talking about organizing the fighters into a union for the last 70, 80 years, and you talk to people and they say it's impossible. You can't do it. Baseball players, football players, they got a season. Fighters are individual contractors. How are you going to set up a pension fund? How are you going to set up a medical plan or a welfare plan? I think it's doable. They could set up different tiers. I mean, a fighter who has 5 pro fights and retires certainly cannot plan on getting a pension that some fighter who fought for 23 years or 25 years. And I think maybe they can contribute by having the sanctioning bodies contribute maybe 1 or 2% from a world championship bout, or possibly increase the cost of a ticket. If a ticket to see a fight is $55, make it $57. I don't think the fans are going to complain if they have to pay $2 more for a ticket. Maybe those two extra dollars could be earmarked for a pension fund. But the bottom line is most of these fighters end up with less than they came in with, and we all know that 98% of the fighters don't make any money in the sport. But if it wasn't for those 98% of the fighters, there'd be no sport.
Right. Because I like to tell everybody that, like as far as boxing goes, it's the fighters that are the business. Boxing is just a vehicle. It's not the business. Because if you take away the fighters, you have nothing. Right?
Right.
Yeah. So, Mr. Brown, can you hear me? Mr. Brown, he's still there? Is he still there? No. Okay. He bounced off. Now, how come? Because you all have been you all have been around for how long right now? 20 years, or how long has Ring 10 been in business?
Ring 10's been around. This 10-year anniversary.
10 years, right. So how do you get the name? How come it's not known more? Because you know so much now in boxing with social media. You hear about all the garbage and the fights being canceled and this, that, and the third. How come you don't hear about Ring 10?
Because nobody really wants to hear about Ring 10. We're breaking rules. We want to change rules, and we're getting pushed back from many sides. But people want to see the fight. They don't want to see after the fight. They don't care after the fight. They don't care when they take that fighter away with stitches and brain damage and CTE. They don't care about that. They only care about what he does in the ring. Make sense?
Yes, sir. Okay, I'm gonna go to Mr. Brown now. Mr. Brown, can you hear me?
Yeah, how's going?
It's going good, but I think you have some noise in the background.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Do you have your TV on or anything? Yeah. Do you have your TV on, Mr. Brown?
Yeah. I got one of the TVs on. The other TV I had off. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're gonna have to turn that down for me, okay? And just talk to me on the phone or something.
Yeah, we turned it off.
Okay, turn it off. Okay, good. You know what I wanted you. What I was gonna ask you is about how's the program helped you out, sir? Yeah, right. How's the program helped you out, and what would you tell others about the program? Let's say another fighter that's in need. What would you tell them about the program to get them signed up to it? Yeah.
Well, the program helps me.
You're gonna have to turn that TV down because there's a big echo, sir.
Fighters.
I tell you what, yeah, you definitely got to turn that echo because that's why there's a delay. That's why there's a delay when I'm asking you questions. All right. Yeah, see?
Okay. You got me now?
Yeah.
You turn everything off.
Ernie never came. Troy, I want to ask him. Ernie never came to Ring 10 for any help.
Oh, he never
Ernie
did?
is not-
Okay.
No. Ernie is not a fighter that was in need of any financial or medical assistance.
Okay. Well, Ernie, why don't you tell what you did with Ring 10? I apologize. I just assumed that Ring 10 was helping you out. So I'm sorry about that. Why don't you
No,
tell
I
your
support Ring
story
10
on how you came
financially.
to Ring 10?
Well, what I did was, Ring 10 to raise money, they do this annual dinner, and they have
Right.
boxing celebrities come. So I bring some boxing celebrities with me. In my case,
Mhm.
I brought Montel Griffin before. I'm going to be bringing next year David Diaz, Montel Griffin, and Leroy Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
So I try
I
to
think-
support it in that way, plus with money also.
I think
Right.
you also mentioned you're going to try to bring in Layman Brewster.
Lemon Brewster, right. Former heavyweight champion, former WBO
Yes.
champion, right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Layman Brewster also, and I'm also reached out to Jessica McCaskill. She doesn't have a fight scheduled during that time. I like her to come out also.
Right. Right now, what do you tell these fighters to make them want to come out, Ernie?
So that's what I try to do. I try to help boxers as best I can, and along with my good man Richard. Richard is the one that got me involved with Ring 10, and I thank him for that.
Okay. Matt.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to Matt right now. Matt.
Yep.
Okay. Now, I know you do the charitable. I know you do the fundraising dinners and so forth, right?
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. Why don't you tell the difficulties
You
or
guys hear
just
me
how?
still?
Yeah. I'm gonna ask you to go on mute. When we're not speaking to you. Okay, Mr. Brown.
We put it back on so I can hear them.
Okay. Yeah. Matt.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah. Why don't you explain how hard it is to put those together? As far as like the functions you put together to raise money for Ring 10.
Right. Well, it takes about 3 months, total dedication, and I'm trying to work a full-time job, and take care of my family, which I sacrificed and I paid the price with the divorce. But so it's focused for 3 months, selling tickets, putting people in the seats, making sure you're advertising, getting the press, getting everything ready, organizing it with the event, selling products. Any way we can make a dime, because it's going to last us for a year. So it's a totally dedicated event. The problem is I don't get paid. Nobody gets paid. Nobody makes a salary. Nobody makes a dime profit from this event. It's all going to Ring 10 as a non-for-profit to help a former fighter get back on his feet.
Right. I want to ask you, but it might be kind of personal.
Yeah.
Because I know you mentioned, your family and so forth, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if you'd mind telling that story of all you gave to the point where, your family kind of just was like, you're giving too much. Do you want to share that story of all that you gave to Ring 10?
Yeah, it was my own fault. I didn't see it. I was so focused on Ring 10, and I had to work, and I had to take care of fighters that needed help, and I had to make phone calls, and I had to make arrangements, and he had to go into a nursing home, and I didn't see my family slipping through my fingers. And then one day came, and she asked me for a divorce. I've never spoken to her since, and I lost my family. And I still follow Ring 10, and I still believe in what we do. Some things are bigger than personal things. And it's been 3 years. I've not spoken to my children. They will not respond to me. And I've not spoken to my ex-wife, who we never had a fight. So I sacrificed a lot for this organization, and I want to see it through to the end. If it's not going to work, then I'm going to end it. And if it is going to work, then it's going to be work for everybody.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me say congratulations to you, because that takes a heck of a lot of strength and determination. And for everybody that's listening right now,
Ernie, I don't know if it's congratulations.
Well, no, I'm not saying about losing anything.
I know.
What I mean by that is just the sacrifices that you're willing. I'm sorry, right? You know, all the sacrifices that you're willing to make to help others, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And to all the people in the chat and everybody else that might be listening, that tells you how serious he is about Ring 10.
right,
This, you know, because he lost his family and everything simply because he was giving all his time and energy to help others.
right.
And that takes a very special, dedicated individual. And all I can say, man, is God bless, and hopefully, hopefully you'll keep it open and keep it going, because there's a lot of people in need, man.
Yeah, I
There's
know.
tons of people in need, and they need you. They need Rich, and they need Brother Ernie over here, and they need Ring 10 most of
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
They definitely need
absolutely.
Ring 10 most of all. Now,
Yeah.
Rich, if you want to speak on, you know, all that you've done for Ring 10 and all you've gained and maybe lost, that'll be great too.
Well, I haven't lost as much as Matt, but you know, I just jumped on board because
Mhm.
boxing has been my passion since I was about 10 years old. I got turned on to boxing. I watched Rocky Marciano knock out Joe Louis in 1951 on my 10-inch black and white RCA Victor TV set, sitting on a couch with my father in the living room. And that sort of, you know, got me interested in boxing. Everybody said Joe was 2,000 years old, but Joe was 37 years old and Rocky was 28. But he did get him on, you know, on a tail end of the end of his career. But I just gained a lot. You know, I just want to help fighters that are in need, and I'm very happy that I hooked up with Matt. And all I can say is that over the years, I mean, Matt has a heart of gold, and when he gets a call from a fighter in need, you're not going to hear Matt tell the fighter, you know what, we're going to have a board meeting in about a month from now or 2 months from now. We're going to have a board meeting and we'll sit down and we'll discuss your situation. You know, he'll contact the board members by phone. He'll discuss the situation, and within a day or two, this fighter will know that he's getting help. Okay, as I said before, we don't want to mention names of fighters that we've helped over the years, but on average, we were helping out 10 different fighters every month
Yeah.
with gift cards, paying electric bills, getting an air conditioner, paying for helping them for rent, you know, hotel, a motel. But I'm just very happy that I hooked up with Matt and Ring 10, and over the years we've helped a lot of ex-fighters that are in need of financial and/or medical assistance, and we will continue to do so as long as Ring 10 is in existence.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened to me today, and then I'm bringing right back to Ring 10, right? So, as I was driving through the city, I actually live in Baltimore. Every block that I drove on, there was a homeless camp. There was a homeless camp. There was a homeless camp. Homeless people, right? And I looked, and it was nothing that I could do at all. There's really nothing that I could do to help them at all, right? Because if I help one, I could probably help one or two of them, but I can't help everybody. And I feel real blessed to be a part of, you know, this right here, Ring 10, because it gives me an opportunity to actually, you know, work with you gentlemen and actually make a difference and help, you know, help all these boxers that need help. Because you always hear fans talk about, well, you know, if I could help, I'll do this, I'll do that. Well, here's your chance. Here's your realistic chance to actually make a difference in a fighter's life that you say that you love and you really cared about. Here's your chance to make a difference. Easy to talk, but it's much harder to do. So I'm going to ask everyone to help out. You know, whether they donate, whether they do, you know, pass the word on about Ring 10. Just definitely keep it out there in the hearts and minds of others. Now, Mr. Brown, I definitely appreciate all that you've done, you know, with bringing the fighters and so forth, right? Do you ever get any pushback?
Oh, yes, it was my pleasure. I'm honored to do it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Now, you know, do you get any pushback anytime from any fighters that you ask to come on to the functions, you know, at Ring 10? You know, you ever get any pushback from anybody, or is it just like, sure?
A little bit. Sometimes, some fighters you might want to have an extra room or tickets for their family, things of that sort, which I don't do. I take two people out. I take a fighter and his wife out, and I'll take care of that. Hotel, airfare, and you get into the venue. But that's what I do. But some fighters want more than that. They want to bring a whole bunch of people with them,
Yeah.
and I just can't pick up that call.
Okay.
Hey,
You know,
Troy, can I make
Troy,
one
that seems to be
quick
one of
point?
the
Yes, sir.
problems. You know, when you reach out to try to bring in a celebrity who's going to get the fans to want to come out to meet, you know, to take a photograph with, possibly get an autograph. Some of these fighters that you talk to, you know, they're asking for $6,000-7,000 to make an appearance, and they have to understand that we're a nonprofit. We're a 501c3. We can't afford to pay them $6, $7, $8, $10,000 to show up at an event. It would be nice if these fighters, you know, were able to say, you know, maybe we should give back to the sport a little bit and help our brothers that are not as well off as we are, and come to an event. You know, we're willing to fly them in round trip, put them up in a motel, and it sometimes it gets difficult to land a big name fighter that people are willing to come out and meet.
Hey, Troy, can I say something? Troy, can you hear
Yes,
me?
Matt,
Oh,
yes.
sorry. There you go.
Uh-huh.
There you go.
Mr. Brown, you're gonna have to mute your. You know, hold on a second, Mr. Brown.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to mute your mic for me. There's a lot of feedback coming from you. Okay, you're just gonna have to turn that down, or mute your mic real quick. Okay, go ahead, Matt.
Okay.
Troy, this is a little known fact, but where do professional football players come from? What is their stepping stone to become a professional football player?
Oh, what, like a farming system?
Well,
College,
yes, but
college,
what is their
college.
farming system? What is it?
College,
Okay.
college.
What about basketball?
Same thing. High school, college.
Okay, what about baseball? Majority. Yeah, I know.
They come from the minor leagues and college and stuff. Yeah.
But usually they come from college and they'll make the
Mm-hmm.
minors. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
baseball, basketball, football. The majority. Where do boxers come from?
They come from the dirt and the ground up. That's where they come from.
You see,
Yeah.
everything I've been telling you separates us from other sports, and it gives us no advantage, and it takes care of no one. They eat you up. When you're of no use, they get rid of you. That's the difference in boxing. See, so you could be a football player and you do damage to your knee and you're all done. You've got a college degree or whatever you got, right? We scholarshiped you. You've got it. Baseball, basketball, majority of them, they have it. Where does a fighter come from? He comes from the streets, the street gym, the local gym. He makes it as a pro, and when they're done, they throw him out. There's the door. Don't call me, and I won't call you. And I can speak from experience because that's what my manager did to me. Don't call me, and I won't call you. But the difference is, I was lucky enough to go to college.
Yeah. And now, Matt, how do we get something started in boxing so that doesn't happen? Because to me, I was thinking if you could get, let's say, 5% from all the promoters and managers and things like, and all the advisors and from all the fighters, like the top guys down, wouldn't that help out with with keeping Ring 10 going and
Absolutely.
Okay.
And towards forming a union. So that's I had long conversations with Senator John McCain, but then he passed away, and I've been spoken to others. It's not a priority to them. It's not going to get them another vote, into their election. So they're very limited to what they want to give me. Our battle is kind of by ourselves, and we have to figure out a way to enforce it, because the resistance is going to be the Don Kings, the Bob Arams, the De La Hoyas, who's the promoter now. That's going to be the resistance. They don't want any union to tell them anything, because they can exploit anybody they want with no resistance. There's no union, right? So that's what they want. That's what they like. I'm going to break the mold, or Ring 10 is going to break the mold and somehow force it. I haven't figured out yet. I haven't figured it out yet.
Well, I got a thought about that. You know, about all the promoters and so forth that
Yeah.
don't want to help. I'm not saying you should do it, but there should be somebody or some entity that forms a group that just has a list of all the promoters and managers that don't want to help out, and then the
Yep.
fans could decide whether they want to keep supporting them or not.
Isn't that a non-union strike? Isn't that a strike, or whatever you want to call it? That they refuse to be part of the union, and over time there'd be enough pressure. Enough pressure to force them into it, because they're not getting the fighters. Because now the fighters are union fighters, they can't be on a non-union show. But wait a minute, you're going to tell a fighter, this guy's going to pay me $10,000 and I can't fight because he's non-union? Then I quit. I'm going to go to non-union. So it's going to be, it's an uphill battle. Money is what's going to dictate the progress of the sport or the union. It's got to be money or pressure,
Right.
government pressure.
Right. And Rich, do you have any thoughts on how we could get something started, like, getting the 5% from the promoters and all that, from the promoters and managers down to the highest paid fighter to the lowest paid fighter?
I wish I had the answer to that, Troy. This has been kicked around, and for years and years, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a labor lawyer. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a union delegate, but I think it's doable. I knew a labor lawyer who met with two brothers, lawyers that represented a Teamster local in Queens a number of years ago, maybe 15, 20 years ago. He knew that I was a cut man, and I had a conversation with him, and he told me that he met with these two other lawyers, and they wanted to start a union. They wanted the fighters, the professional boxers, to be part of a Teamsters union. And at that time, I think the fighters claimed that they wanted to be separate. They wanted to have their own union. And when I spoke to this labor lawyer, who actually got started with Jimmy Hoffa back in Washington, D.C. many years ago, he told me, Rich, he says there was too much resistance at the time in trying to get this boxers union off the ground. Too much resistance. And he just threw up his arms and walked away from the situation. But, I hope that I get to see the professional boxers formed into a union before I'm 6 feet under. I think it's doable. I'd like to see it because many of these fighters, when they hang up their gloves, that's when all the hits to the head kick in, and that's when they don't have any medical coverage. They have no pension fund, no welfare fund, and we really need to try to get these fighters some help. And I think the way to do it is to get them organized into a union. I just hope I see it in my lifetime.
Right. I wanted to see if the chat, if anybody in the chat had any questions, or maybe we could drop the link in the chat, see if anybody wants to come on and ask you a question, and then we could go from there, because we have a few more minutes before the show ends. And because to me, I don't see any problem with doing good to help to help someone else, because all the good you do for others, you're really doing it for yourself, right? Because in the long run, we don't know where we're going to be in the next couple of days, years, or whatever. That could be us that's in need. And then
Sure.
you turn around and you don't help anybody. There's something my grandmother always told me, which is similar to what everybody's heard about why you shouldn't spit in the wind, right? Because it comes back, hit you in the face.
Yeah.
You know what they say, Roy? They say it's better to give than to receive. You feel good. You feel good when you're helping fighters. Now, I mentioned to Matt one time, I said, Matt, we're helping a fighter with a monthly gift card. 15 years ago, he was able to put his hands on $12 million in the bank. Why are we helping this guy? Who did he ever help? You know what Matt said? You know what Matt said to me? He says, Rich, we're not here to be judgmental. If
Mm.
this fighter is down and out now and he needs help, we're going to be there for him. You know, the fact that he was able to put his hands on $12-15 million 20 years ago, and he splurged it away or he invested it poorly. He says we're not here to be judgmental about it. If he needs help, we're going to try to give it to him.
Right. Well, that's that's the part of giving that people don't know. You have to have a very big heart, and you have to push past all the anxiety and all your judgmental issues, and say, okay, I'm just doing it because it brings me some peace. And if you never do that, then you'll never trust me. You can't be soft. You can't second guess when you're doing charity because it'll never work out for you. Yeah, if you're doing it to gain something, it's still not going to work out for you because sooner or later you're going to get tired of it. But if you're doing it from the heart, there's a helicopter passing over. Yeah, if you're doing it from the heart and it's something that you love, then you'll just keep going. You'll keep going until there's nothing left in you because this is what you love to do. You just
Well,
love doing it.
with Matt, it's a passion. This is his mission. This is his goal. This is the goal and the mission of Ring 10. And Matt, hopefully, is going to continue doing what he's doing because he's got a heart of gold. And these fighters, many of them need help. Fans talk about the Fab Four. They talk about Hagler and Hearns and
Leonard
and Duran. And who's the fifth? Who's the fifth the fifth guy that they talk about?
We don't want to talk about
the fifth guy. It would probably be Wilfredo Benitez.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And fans talk about how great he was. He's such a great fighter. The youngest fighter to ever win a world title at the age of 17. Great defensive fighter. But how many
Troy,
of them
do you remember
really
him, Troy? Hold on, Rich. Troy, do you remember him?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
When was the last time you heard his name mentioned? Or
just now. Just now.
Well, I don't want to describe him, but he's a vegetable. In the medical terms, he's a vegetable. He has no understanding of where he is. He's permanently in a hospital bed, and this is all from brain damage. And this is all from when the TV coverage stopped covering him. He still fought on as an opponent and got beat badly. And then the CTE set in, and he's a vegetable in a bed. He's permanently sequestered to a bed, and his sister takes care of him. So when I made contact with him, with his sister, she said, Matt, anything you could help us with would be appreciated. And for nine and a half years, we've helped him every single month. We actually even got him up to, I think he's up in somewhere in the United States getting treatment for his head for CTE. They're doing hyperbaric chambers.
I think he's they flew him from he was living in Puerto Rico for many years.
Yep.
He was getting very little help from the Puerto Rican government. I think maybe it amounted to about $350 a month from the government. And then they flew him out to, I believe he's living somewhere in Chicago. Yep. And he's taken care of by his sister Yvette.
Yvette. Yep.
He's getting better care in Chicago, but how many fans know about his condition? And even if they knew about his condition, how many of them reach into their pocket and send him a $20 bill?
Well, if they send it to Ring 10, he will get it. Just so you know, Troy,
yes.
If you designate it to a fighter, that fighter will get it. If you designate it to Ring 10, that will be split amongst all the fighters, as many as I can get out of that payment.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm glad you said that because we're coming down to the final 5 minutes of the show.
Sure.
Why don't you explain how you could designate to a fighter that you want to help if someone wants to donate, Matt? Why don't you do that?
If you send the check, if you go to the website, always everything's on the website, ring10.org. Okay, ring10ny.org. Either way, I think you'll find it. There's my address to mail a check if you want to mail it, or there's an icon where you can click on it and make a payment to it directly from your bank or whatever you want to do. And if you want to leave instructions, there's a little button you could write instructions. I want this to go to Wilfred Benitez. I want this to go to Gerald McClellan. We didn't talk about Gerald, did we, Rich?
No, we did not. No, we did not.
Oh, man. Oh, wow.
Yeah, we had it, but we did have. I'm sorry. You know, the first show we ever did together, we did have his sister on, Lisa,
Oh, okay.
and we
Okay.
spoke a lot about him then. So, you know, why don't you give your closing thoughts on Gerald and all that, and then we could close out the show, because that's something real rough for me. That's rough, you know.
His sister contacted me 10 years ago. She had contacted the other organization in New York, and they said that's not what they do, which kind of baffled me, because then what do you do if you're not helping a fighter? What do you do? And so she contacted me. She asked me if we could help. She described what she needed. She needed some bills paid. I said, they're done. Give me the name, the account number, who to call, the phone number. It's done. That bill. And for 9 to 10 years now, we've been assisting them any way we can. And we're almost like part of the family. They're part of the family. They made the journey last year to the event. Gerald made the journey. Lisa brought Gerald by car to the event, and he had somewhat of a wonderful time, but it was great to introduce him as one of our oldest members. Rich?
Yeah, the G-Man was a great fighter.
Yeah.
As fans know, he got injured back in 1995 when he fought
Nigel Benn.
He fought Nigel Benn in London in 1995, and he was injured. It was bleeding on the brain. He underwent some surgeries, and Gerald is totally blind. He's 80% deaf, and Lisa has been his main caregiver for going on 26 years now. She gets him up in the morning. She helps bathe him. They feed him, I mean, she's a living angel here on earth for being in his corner, and we've been in his corner for the last 10 years. And Lisa is our #1 fan, and she says that without Ring 10, she never would have been able to continue, helping Gerald in a way she has been helping.
Thank you, Brother Brown. If you want to give your closing thoughts before we close the show out, you have anything you want to say before we close the show out?
Yes, indeed. Please support Ring 10. We do good work for firefighters, and the money will be well spent helping fighters. Every cent goes to help fighters. We don't take it. All of us are volunteers. We don't get paid for it. We want to help fighters. We want to help the boxing community as much as we can. So please support Ring 10 if you can. No donation is too small or too big. Thank you so much for your time.
All right. And then Matt and Rich, you want to give your closing thoughts? Well, when we're about to close the show out. I just want to tell all you gentlemen, I'm sorry, Matt. I just want to tell all you gentlemen, thank you. I truly appreciate the fact that you even form, Ring 10. I truly appreciate the fact that you gave me the opportunity to bring you on the show so you can talk about it. Sure. And I hope and pray that, each time you come on, man, we'll get more eyes to Ring 10, and they'll share all the good you're doing, and they'll just continue to grow. Go ahead, Matt. Give your closing thoughts, and I'll pass it to Rich to close it out.
I just wanted to thank everybody. I know everybody loves the sport of boxing, and I do not want to stop it. I want to make it safer if we can, but more importantly, I want to take care of the fighters once they're done and they're discarded. That's when something has to be done. There's a key element that breaks down after their career is over. The sport discards them, and that's got to change.
All right, and Rich, you go ahead with your closing thoughts.
Yeah, I want those people who are listening to the show right now to mark this date down on your calendar. November 6th. November 6th at Terrace on the Park in Queens, New York, a fabulous catering hall. from 7 to 11 p.m. Ring 10 is going to have their 10th gala anniversary fundraiser, and we're going to have legends there. Come out and meet the champs. You're going to have a great knockout time, great cocktail hour, open bar, sit-down dinner. Come out and meet the champs, support the fighters that need help. You're going to have a great time. So mark that date down, November 6th. It's a Saturday night from 7 to 11 at Terrace on the Park in Queens, New York.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for coming. Now, Matt or Rich, if you could text that information to me, I'll make sure when you come on the show next week, it'll be up on the show, so it'll just scroll across the bottom of the screen, right?
Sure.
And
Okay.
yeah,
Sure.
and I want to
What,
thank.
the website? What do you mean, the website?
Well, you know, what did you just speak on, Rich? You know, that's the information I need.
Oh,
Paris
I will get it out to you, Troy. No problem.
Okay.
I'll get it out to you. All the information.
Okay. Well, no problem. No problem. And thank you, gentlemen, very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And God bless.
you.
And we'll see you
Thank
again
you
next
very
week.
much.
Yes.
All right.
Thanks for having us on. Thanks for having us on.
Not a problem. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Thank you. All right.